everybody. Welcome to Talking Heartland. This is the show where we talk about the past episodes of the Heartland television show, and we are on season 6, episodes 13, 14, and 15. It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle's here.
Hey everyone.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. We're having a bit of a heat wave in Scotland just now, so I'm
Oh,
currently
yeah.
melting. So I'm going to try and pull it together, pull it together for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky. I just went on a little break and because it had been so hot, and we got a little bit of a respite from the super, super hot temperatures, which was good for people going hiking and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That would have been brutal.
yeah, that does
But
not sound.
yeah, so we have 3 more episodes, season 6 today to talk about, and I'd say these were pretty good episodes. The ones previous were like really, really good, and
Yeah,
then these were solid, I think.
yeah, yeah. I think the first one was probably the strongest.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so too.
yeah, yeah, but still pretty good. Yeah,
Because of the first one though, we'll talk about it. It does have a lot of clips and
yeah,
looks back kind of a thing. So it's almost like a one of those filler clip episodes, but then they add a lot of drama around the clips.
yeah.
So, uh, yes, so that is called Waiting for Tomorrow. And this is the summary is Scott discovers that Spartan has a broken leg and Amy is forced to make the toughest decision of her life. As Amy searches her soul for the right path to take, Ty and Scott prepare for the possibility of major surgery on the horse. Meanwhile, Mallory throws herself into her job at Maggie's, avoiding Amy and the guilt that's eating her up inside. She blames herself for Spartan's injury, and Georgie decides to quit Jumping Phoenix, fearful that he could suffer the same fate as Spartan. And so, yes, they find out that Spartan is going to need a $20,000 surgery. That's after the insurance, which
Mhm.
I don't even know what's the point of having the insurance if it doesn't even cover hardly anything. It covers $5,000.
Yeah, yeah. I actually just got insurance for my dog.
Mm-hmm.
And it like covers literally just accidents. Like that's it. I still have to pay to get them neutered. I still have to pay for vaccinations. I still have to pay for anything dental. It's like, why do I need this?
Yeah,
I mean,
ridiculous.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And it just was just a random thing, right? I mean, she was jumping
Yeah,
Spartan in the thing and he just collapsed.
yeah. I think it was just like a fluke,
Yeah.
which is almost worse because there's nothing that you can look to in order to sort of justify it or change it or make it right in your head and look at a thing and say, well, that's the thing that caused it. Literally nothing.
Hmm.
I felt so bad for Mallory in this episode.
I did too. She did a good job. I
Yeah.
think Jessica did a good job in this
Hmm.
episode with that role because you would feel terrible. Even if
Yeah.
you had nothing to do with it, you would
Hmm.
feel bad, especially with how important Spartan is to Amy.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
Scott's very honest with her. He says you should consider euthanasia. I mean, this is going to cost a lot of money and pain for Spartan. So it's a
Mhm.
tough decision.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always tough.
Mhm.
I've thankfully never had a situation like that in terms of like surgery and things, but yeah, it is
Mhm.
tough. Even if they have the surgery, like the road to recovery is so tough.
Yeah.
And you just don't know if he's going to be the horse that he was, and if he'll be able to be capable of doing the things that he was capable of doing. So yeah, it's an awful situation.
Yeah, and she has flashbacks to when they first got
Hmm.
Spartan from that farmer.
Yeah,
And
that's like you said, like the clips in this episode. I felt like the episode without the clips, all of that story was strong enough to have more of it. Like,
uh-huh.
I just don't think there was need for as many clips as there was. Like, one or two, like, fair enough. But I just felt like the actual context of this episode. Like, I would have loved to seen more of like Mallory dealing with it,
Yeah,
instead of having like clips.
I agree, especially the Ty and Amy clips. If you would, I mean, I'm sure that does very well with the fan base. They want to see all Ty and Amy, stuff. But I could have used more of Mallory, like you said. So Tim is back from staying with Miranda, and it turns out this episode and the next episode are both directed by Chris Potter.
Oh, really?
I just noticed that. So I don't know how many more he's done, or if this is the first. I haven't paid attention, but yeah, it's just kind of interesting. And I still think I do not like this Tim and Miranda thing at all. They have no
Yeah, it's so
chemistry.
gross.
It's
He's
awful.
so gross. Yeah, he's so gross about it as well.
Yeah, it
Like,
makes you yearn for the days of Tim and Janice compared to Miranda.
yeah.
Like I like him with Shane, but
hmm
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it felt like they sort of abandoned Shane and made it more about Tim and Miranda, which is weird.
Mhm. I know it is weird. They just like vaguely talk about him going to call and going to the gifted and talented school. That's the only thing
Yeah.
you hear about. Uh, but Georgie is very upset. Uh, she's upset with Phoenix, and Lou says no matter how we're feeling, their needs always come first.
hmm
But I think that's probably the great gift of having an animal is that you teach your children to be unselfish,
Yeah.
and because the animals are unselfish back, they don't have any of the baggage that we all have as far as relationships,
hmm
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. They give so much and ask for so little in return, most
right,
animals.
right.
Yeah. I thought Lou was really good at this episode.
Yeah, it was a strong one for her. I agree. I like her and Georgie. I think that dynamic is good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
She gives
Um,
Georgie three options with Phoenix, and
mhm.
she's going to she that and Georgie says she's going to sell Phoenix. Of course, she's upset about that, but uh,
Yeah.
she's just scared, which makes sense for her as a foster kid to
Mhm.
be really insecure.
Yeah, yeah, and sort of go to the worst possible scenario.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's understandable that something like that would traumatize her.
Hmm.
Um, Especially being new to the sort of horse world and seeing something where there's no explanation as to why it happened. Yeah, it would definitely leave a mark.
I think Alicia Newton plays Georgie, and she does a really good job when she's like yelling at Phoenix,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
she's so upset.
yeah. Yeah, it's sort of similar to Amy after the when she first got Spartan,
Mhm.
after the accident, when she like tries to sort of bond with him, she sort of says a very similar thing of like, "I know you blame me for this." After the accident when her mom died.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, it's it's good. Yeah, then they literally play the clip of that, so you go full circle.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
nice parallel.
yeah, and Ty says, watching you work with that horse is what made me fall in love with you. So that's we get uh, clips of Amy and Spartan and Amy and Ty. And it's very good. And, and we find out that Tim is going to be selling some of his calves to get the money for the surgery for Spartan. That was very sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a good like he's so gross about Miranda and stuff, but like this was like a good Tim Dad moment of like no question, like they're just gonna do it. They're not even gonna like debate it or argue about it or make Amy feel one way or another about it. Yeah, I like this.
Mhm. Yeah, and Lou tells Georgie that she gave up riding her horse Bailey
hmm
because she got scared. And then
Yeah.
she goes out and jumps, which you don't normally think of Lou as being a jumper on the horses, but
Yeah, you sort of forget that she was very into horses when she was younger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Tim talks about he got hurt on a horse in the rodeo
Mhm.
with Pegasus.
Yeah.
Let's put that in. You see him talking to Miranda and then to Lou, and Mallory says, "I'm sorry about everything," and uh, she she does a good job in those scenes, and then that's when Jake comes in, and he was quite the little hunk there when he's like, "I'm the right person to handle the situation."
Yeah,
Like
he's so good.
that's good.
He's such a little like little mini adult.
Yeah. Well, I think that they have good chemistry though. I like them. Jake and
Yeah.
Mallory is the characters, obviously.
Yeah,
I think they work.
he clearly gets her, and it's just like waiting on her to like realize that.
Yeah,
But I think
yeah.
a really good dynamic in this episode.
So then they they do the surgery on Spartan, and they are going to have to. They're going to have to tranquilize him, but then Amy steps in
Mhm.
and calms him down, and uh, and then Mallory comes in uh, and brings Amy muffins. Sorry, muffins. And I really liked when Jack says the one mopey little girl and a miserable horse too. It's so cute.
Yeah, yeah. I thought Amy was like fairly good with Mallory in this episode. Like it's such a hard thing of like not trying to place blame because there isn't
Mm-hmm.
any, but like having no explanation for what happened and feeling uncomfortable around Mallory, even though she knows that it wasn't her fault.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I liked sort of that it was solved in this episode, like it was all contained, so it wasn't like a drawn out thing.
Yeah. What do you visualize when you're scared? Yeah, I think this was a pretty good episode, especially for a clip episode. When you think about it, a lot of times those are the worst episodes of of season in the show.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It
so
tends to be like sitcoms are just the absolute worst when they do these episodes, but
mm,
yeah, I feel like the Heartland ones have been fairly good.
yeah, I think so. So what would you give it, 1 to 10?
I would give it an 8.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking 8, but yeah, I agree. I think it's right around there. We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
So very good. All right. Our next episode is Lost and Gone Forever. And this is Ty's future as a vet is in serious jeopardy when he's blamed for a shocking fatality at Scott's clinic. Amy is determined to help Ty get to the bottom of what really happened at the clinic in order to save his career. Meanwhile, Lou has to put an end to all of Caleb's unsolicited and unwarranted help and inappropriate attention towards her domestic needs. And Georgie gets in tune with her musical side in order to score a coveted gift from Lou and Jack. So, overall, what do you think about this episode?
I like this episode. Obviously not as strong as the episodes would probably the last like 4 or 5 episodes, but I think probably the stuff that really didn't work for me is the Caleb stuff.
Uh-huh.
I thought the George stuff continues to be really good, like her bond with Lou and Jack. And the Jeremy stuff is awfully ramping up, but yeah, okay episodes.
Yeah, I like this episode pretty good. It's definitely a strong Ty episode.
Yeah,
And
very
he
much
has a
so.
lot of good stuff to work on. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, the Lou stuff. I think it's partly maybe it's frustrating because they haven't done a good job with Lou and Peter. So then when they add this Caleb dynamic, it's just kind of like exacerbating that. They haven't
Yeah.
done a good job. And they have no chemistry at all.
Yeah, and also like I don't know about you, but I sort of really struggle to see them as like anything, like not
Yeah,
even like
no
I struggle to
chemistry.
see even and also sort of band him in with like the teenagers because he's obviously friends with Ty and Amy,
Ty,
and he was with Ashley for a long time, so I sort of view him as much younger than he probably
right,
is.
right,
And so like the Lou stuff just feels strange because Lou seems so sort of grown up compared to those
right.
other
Yeah,
characters.
I agree. Yeah, like
Yeah,
if they had chemistry, it could be kind of exciting, like of this sort of illicit romance,
I don't
whatever.
know what it is. Other than
But
like Scott, they just have done a terrible job with like Lou's love interests.
yeah,
Like there's no
agreed.
build up. There's no build up whatsoever. It's just sort of happens, and then it's like we're supposed to believe that he's
Yeah,
fallen madly in love with her, or like Lou and Peter are madly in love, and it's like I just
and
don't get
they
it.
they just keep repeating the same storyline over and over and over again with her and Peter. And
I
then
mean,
you think it's resolved, and then the next episode it's the same thing
yeah,
with him in business and her
yeah,
wanting to be at the ranch, basically.
yeah. Like the last group of episodes we talked about, like I got so excited at that argument that they had. Like Lou was saying everything that I'd wish she'd said for like seasons.
Yeah.
Like they had this big blowout argument, and I was like so happy. And then by the end of the episode, it's like as if nothing happened. It's like seriously, like he apologizes and it just all goes back to normal, and he just forgets everything that she said. So
Yeah.
frustrating.
Right. And it's just not making for a very dynamic, interesting character because they
Exactly.
never
Yeah.
seem to grow. They never seem to learn.
Yeah.
And they just don't have chemistry. I just don't think they're not good together. So it's hard. Like I think that oddly enough, like the best scenes with Peter are like when he's with Georgie or when he's with
Jack.
uh Jack or Mallory or anybody. Like he'll have like a little scene with a different character and it is so effective.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
then
mean, Gabriel Hogan's so good,
yeah,
and everything I've seen him in.
right.
It's not his fault. It's just this character's just really
Yeah.
developed in terms of his relationship with Lou.
Yeah. Well, so we have Spartan, he's improving, and they have a new horse in the hospital that's going to be foaling, and then they have Buckingham coming in,
Hmm.
and Scott tells Ty that they're going to do the surgery on Buckingham,
Yeah.
the nerve surgery, and he basically says like you have to give people the information and then allow them to choose
Yeah.
part of being a vet.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that Scott is. I wish that we would have like a really Scott focused episode
Hmm.
because I think he's a really interesting character.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's really good with Ty in terms of like laying down the law of like this is what's going to be expected of you. These are the
Mhm.
decisions that you're going to have to make. This is, you can't save everyone. You can't, save every animal. You can't get involved in every situation.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's very cut and dry, and I think he's very straightforward with Ty in that regard. But yeah, I love Scott. Like, yeah, I really like that actor.
Mhm. Yeah, I do too. And yeah, they're kind of de-nerved that
Hmm.
the that Amy. So then Amy confronts Jeremy about it, And he says, when you broke your promise about me competing on Phoenix, you left me no other options.
Yeah. It's
And
so
he has
awful.
quite the little scheme here that he's planning. I mean, that he's expecting a lot of things to work out kind of perfectly, I guess, in order for this to
Mhm.
work out. And then in the end, it's insurance fraud. He'd go to jail for this.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Like in this episode, he certainly just goes from um like annoying character to like downright villain. Like he's just goes evil in this episode. In the next episode, like
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do in Heartland be more of a villain than killing a horse.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so then we also have Georgie, that she's asked to get a $20 for a recorder for school, and she thinks it's like going to be a cool a cool recorder where she's recording people and talking, like a talk boy or something. And it turns out no, it's a boring like flute
Recorder.
recorder.
Yeah, yeah, we had those in school when I was growing up. So like now it's probably around her age. So yeah, when she said recorder, I just assumed it was an actual like flute recorder.
Uh-huh.
It's like
I thought it was a recorder that you talk into. Because I don't usually call those kinds of I don't know what I call it, but it's usually not a recorder. But it was a pretty cute little side story
yeah,
that
yeah, it was really
she's
nice.
bummed this lame thing she got. Um, and yeah, then Caleb comes back and he's still being all weird. But he's trying to like make it up to them by washing Lou's car and
Hmm.
repairing things. And he finally admits he misses being married. And
Hmm.
that's kind of part of the why he's doing what he's doing. But he ends up feeding the baby uh, and
Stepping.
yeah, Lou, this thing you have with me is all in your head. And it was a cute little scene between Caleb and Georgie where he's helping
Yeah,
her
yeah, I
with the
like that scene.
recorder.
Yeah,
That was a good scene.
yeah. He's always been really good with like Mallory in times, and he's already had some good scenes with Georgie. So yeah, this was really sweet.
Hmm. Then Caleb decides to go out on the circuit,
Hmm.
and
Again,
again, and he leaves Lou with a kiss.
yeah, it was supposed to be this like big epic thing, and again, it kind of fell flat for me. It was like you don't want to ruin a marriage, but you you
Yeah,
kiss like leave her this in this position of like, does she say anything to Peter or not?
yeah. I mean, it was just kind of like I don't know. It was just kind of weird, like because they don't have any chemistry, so you just kind of like that was awkward.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so you have Cassandra. She's getting very upset about everything going on with Jeremy and with Buckingham being dead.
Hmm.
And so Ty sees a message on her phone from Jeremy. And so he's trying to get her to tell the truth. Was she with him the whole night? Was she there? But turns out that she actually did go away for a little bit to get some food.
Hmm.
And then that's when Jeremy came in because he's going to get $100,000 from the insurance for
Yeah,
Buckingham. And so he get into big trouble doing that.
yeah, yeah. Yes, it said like that horse is not worth 100,000.
Hmm.
Um, obvious. He's made it really obvious what he's doing. But
Yeah.
yeah, like the whole like Cassandra thing. I'm kind of glad that this is her storyline. I was sort of concerned when she was first introduced that she was going to come between Ty and Amy. So I'm sort of glad that she's off to the side in this sort of storyline, because yeah, I would have hated
Yeah.
the alternative.
So then Lou gives a regular recorder to to Georgie after she learns her song. And then Ty is hired as back at Heartland while he's away from the clinic. And so kind of where this one is left at. Scott makes Ty have a leave of absence.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one I like pretty good. I'd give this one like a 7.5. What would you say?
I would go 7.5.
Yeah. All right. Last episode, this that we're talking about today is After All We've Been Through. And the summary is: to clear his own name, Ty searches for damning evidence to prove Jeremy was behind Buckingham's death. Meanwhile, Amy attempts to find a way to get Spartan to face his extreme fear of the jumping pen. His life depends on it. Lou and Peter's romantic weekend at the Dude Ranch is interrupted by a visitor, Peter's ex-wife, Eden. And against Tim's advice, Mallory turns to the internet to find romance for Jack. So overall, what do you think of this episode?
I thought this was kind of very filler and just kind of filling a gap really. Just an okay episode for me. Probably not a bad episode, but definitely the weakest of the bunch.
Yeah, I did like very much so Mallory setting Jack up on online dating. That was funny.
Yeah, that's always gold. Mallory and Jack.
Yeah, and of course, then he sees Lisa on the online dating.
Yeah.
So
Sort of not sure where they sort of left things. I guess it's sort of on hold or not sure.
Georgie is going on school camping trip. So she's very excited about that. And yes, then Peter and Lou having staycation at the Dude Ranch. And they're going to spend the whole weekend without their phones. But then Eden, Peter's ex-wife, shows up because his dog Max, their shared dog, is going to be is sick and having problems. And so, what did you think of Eden?
It felt kind of weird. Like, it just feels like they're trying to sort of just cause constant problems for Lou and Peter. Like, they barely get in. Like, this is why it's so hard to root for them. It's like we barely get a chance to really see them happy and together. It's constant like conflicts and things coming in between them, and it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she would more likely try to find him up at Heartland as opposed to being at the Dude Ranch. I don't even know how she would know he was there.
Yeah. I also don't know why they don't just stay at the Dude Ranch instead of like them all living at the one house.
Right. I mean, I guess maybe they have people there, but yeah, it would make sense. And why they don't lock their door. Because they have an awkward introduction. And wouldn't she have met Eden before this?
You
Like
would
at the
think so,
wedding?
yeah. Yeah, you would. I don't think she was at the wedding, but you would definitely think they'd have some sort of relationship at this point.
Yeah. So Tim is missing 10 cattle, and he doesn't know where they've gone. And then he finally finds them, and he has a talk to Mallory because Mallory is still kind of struggling. But then, like I said, that she's also setting Jack up, and they have a little scene there, which is he gives her advice about who to set Jack up with. And anyway, it was cute.
Yeah.
Jack matches up with Lisa, so that makes him feel kind of bad. And and then Ty and Scott are having problems because he wants Scott to agree that he didn't do it, but Scott can't do that until he has more evidence.
Yeah.
Then Ty breaks into Jeremy's camper,
Typical
steals
Ty.
his laptop.
It's
Which was
such a Ty thing.
yeah, that was very stupid.
Yeah. Breaking and
mean,
entering is sort of his thing.
Because even if you did find the damning evidence on there, you wouldn't be able to use it because you just stolen it. So
Yeah. And it could be planted, or they could see anything.
Yeah. Plus, you'd be missing context.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, exactly.
then you get the scene where Peter finds out about Max being sick from Eden,
Mhm.
and I can understand hugging.
Yeah, this was so bad.
And I can understand hugging out of grief and loss and whatever, but I can't imagine kissing. That is weird to me.
Yeah,
Weird.
like not like fair enough, like on the cheek, or like a friendly, like clearly like a friendly embrace, or like, but like on the lips is so weird. Like, especially
Yeah.
when Lou's there. I mean, even when Lou isn't there, it's still weird. Like, even if they have
Yeah.
this really like close relationship, a good relationship, even though they're divorced.
Right.
But yeah, this was definitely like crossing the line.
Yeah. It just I can't that I would never do that. And then Eden, she says to Lou, she says, "I hope we can be great friends." And I'm thinking, what?
Yeah, it's so weird that we're like supposed to root for Lou and Peter. In one episode, we had Caleb and Lou kissing, and now we've got Peter and his ex-wife kissing in this one.
Yeah. It was weird. It was strange. And it just doesn't make sense. Like, you would not do that to comfort somebody.
No.
You wouldn't kiss them. That's not normal. And we also have Spartan not wanting to leave the barn
Mhm.
in this. And again, amazing how they get these horses to act the way they do. It's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the same, if they have like multiple horses playing Spartan, or just like the one horse, but
Mhm.
the bonds that they have as like characters and actors is like so clear. And it's definitely like it harkens back to like season 1 whenever they do scenes like this or moments like this.
Yeah. It's really impressive. And then we find out that so Jeremy breaks in to Ty's place. He holds Ty up with a gun, and then that's when finally Cassandra admits that she did leave Jeremy alone with Buckingham, and then his trailer is gone.
Yeah.
So then then Scott's like, finally call the police.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, it escalated so quickly.
yeah. And then Cassandra is then fired.
Yeah. Like, we knew that she had something to do with it, like, from the get-go. And I'm glad they didn't make her, like, an out-and-out villain, like, the way that, he clearly is. Like, she had no involvement in terms of, other than, being sort of duped by him, which everybody kind of was at that point.
Right. Yeah. And then, so Amy decides to take Spartan through the field little bit by little bit, and it seems to do the trick.
Mhm.
Definitely helping. So, yeah, I would give this one like a 6.
Yeah, 6.5. It was okay. It just feels like that stuff isn't finished, like the tie and what's his face?
The Eden stuff was the big kind of miss for me with this episode. I didn't love that.
Yeah, didn't love that either.
I liked the Jack and Mallory and the dating profile and everything. That was funny.
Yeah. I wish they would have like more of this stuff. I get so worried that like Jessica's time is coming to an end on the show.
Yeah, kind of wondering that too.
Yeah.
That I wonder if this was her last season.
Yeah, I think it might be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she has 2 episodes in 2017, but 2013 is her last
Ugh.
full season, it looks like. And that was
Mhm.
this year. So yeah, too bad. All right. Well, there we go. We talked about 3 episodes this season. So let us know if you're listening what you thought of these 3 episodes, if they're favorites of yours. What did you think? And Michelle, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our patron group and merch store, which has Heartland inspired merch. So check that out. And thanks so much. And we'll talk again next week. Bye, everyone.
Everyone.